Hello, hello. Welcome back, or welcome if it's your first time to the Try for More YouTube channel. I am so pumped to bring this topic to you today. My name is Elise, your hostess, and I am so geeked about this topic. We are talking all things fueling today, and this is where I don't like my love, my appreciation for what the human body is truly capable of when I started to understand this component, where things started to burst wide open. So to be completely honest, I had to reel it back in today, remind myself that I am talking to people who are looking to take on the very first triathlon, and try not to overwhelm you all. I'm going to try my best to keep it to that 15-minute time interval, that timeline that I said. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, but I'm gonna try, because this is just a topic that I am like so totally geeked about. But I want to make sure that I'm going to provide the essential things that you need to know for your very first triathlon, and not all that inner workings, the finer details. So basically, you know how you can go down the rabbit hole with all the things that you need for your swim, bike, and run, and everybody are gonna tell you need all the things. That I have a tendency to fall into the trap of when it comes to fueling. And it's not just race day fueling, it's like all the things leading up to it, because truly the more you get into this becomes a lifestyle. And that's what's really cool about it, is you're able to take this one thing where you wanted to do to push yourself a little bit more, to challenge yourself, and then it becomes a lifestyle for one reason or another. Maybe you enjoyed the challenge, maybe you were happy with what you did, but you want to improve upon that time. Maybe you want to go a little bit further, challenge yourself a little like for a longer distance. Or there's a friend that saw you do this and they're like, hey, now I want to join in. And like, you're not going to sit on the sidelines, like you're going to do it too. But in terms of taking on your very first triathlon, that is what I'm really trying to hit on this today. So if there is anything that you learn, anything that you take away from here, I'd love it if you'd subscribe here, or give this video, give it a share to those that need to hear this information, because I'm really hoping I'm going to leave you all with some stuff today that is going to make a positive impact for taking on your very first triathlon. So let's get to it. And as always, my dogs were both home. They're chill for now. One of them was up doing a ton of rolls on the couch before we got started. So hopefully they will continue to cooperate for us while we do this. All right, so let's get started with the night before, or the day before you go into your first race. There sometimes can be a little bit of anxiousness of like, what to eat, what do I have, how do I go about this? And the truth is, eat what you normally eat. Whatever your normal style of dinner is, your normal style of day of eating is, eat what you're normally going to eat. There might be some race day nerves, which means it is probably a very good idea to have a bigger lunch than you're used to in the day, and maybe a little bit of a lighter dinner. Just as you're letting those nerves settle, I would not bank on being able to eat what you normally eat at dinner time. So plan to maybe eat a little bit of a bigger lunch the day before your first race, just to kind of offset those feelings. Don't skip breakfast that day, just to offset whatever nerves might come later in the day as you're packing up, as you're getting things ready, as you're thinking about the race day. You just don't want to accidentally put yourself in a hole before you even get started. So you're going to wake up the day before your race. You're going to have a good sized breakfast packed with some protein. You're going to have a good sized lunch packed with some protein. Both of those carbohydrates, talking like fruits, vegetables, sweet potatoes, if those are things that are normally in your diet when it comes to the potatoes, keep those in there. You should be keeping those fruits and veggies in there anyway though. But you wanna make sure that you are going to get that fuel in early, and that you are not going to accidentally forget to eat or not be able to eat, as this is something that I currently struggle with, is those night before race day nerves, and I am on the journey to figure out how to alleviate those issues. All right, so now let's roll into, I think I beat that horse enough. So eat the day before, eat what you normally eat. So let's go ahead and roll into your morning of. I don't know, maybe at this point in time, you've seen some things to where it's like, one of the biggest things that for whatever reason gets talked about is caffeine before a race. Should I do caffeine or should I not do caffeine? I'm gonna throw this out there again. Do it like you normally would. If you're going to train and you typically do a coffee or there is some other form of caffeine that you use. I personally train with a pre-workout that does not have the stuff that's going to make you itch and tingle. So I am going to still on that race day have that pre-workout because that's what my body is used to. So if you have been going for your runs, your bikes, your swims, and you put coffee into your body right before you go do these things, go ahead and have that caffeine race morning. Don't say, whoa, no, just because it's a race day. And then also, the really cool thing about coffee is it helps flush the system. And trust me, you want to be able to go to the bathroom, if you know what I mean, before you're all set up and ready to go for your race day, before you've got your wetsuit on, before you're about to get in for the swim start. You don't want to be standing there and all of a sudden your body decide it is time for something to go down. So if you typically race day, you're getting up a little earlier, go ahead, start that pot of coffee, have that caffeine, hour and a half, 2 hours before a race start time, so that your body has had the time to let things move through it. So when you are getting to that start line, all those things have worked themselves out. A really great piece of advice for your training as well. If that is something you are having, maybe a little bit of caffeine is going to help move the system through. So when it comes to breakfast that morning, I would think of typically like a lighter breakfast. But again, don't do anything crazy. Don't do anything that is totally different than what you are used to. Stick with things that you are used to. I would say leaning more on the side of a carb type breakfast. So like oatmeal's a great option. Toast with jelly is a really good option. You've got like a protein bar of good quality, because the quality of that protein, you don't want it to sit funky in your stomach. That's a really good option. So there are things that you can still have for breakfast, because with getting up a few hours, depending on how long you need to get ready, how much time you want to give yourself, you don't want to wake up and forget to eat or skip eating because of those nerves. Take something that you can like munch on as you're driving. For me personally, I do toast, and then applesauce is another really great option. We're going to talk about applesauce because I am a huge fan of applesauce. But applesauce is a really good option that you can just have, and you can kind of, hi Benjamin, that you can have and munch on as you're getting ready if things aren't sitting well in your stomach. But go with foods that you are used to, that make you feel happy and that you can usually eat when you're planning out your groceries. So as we are diving into the race, hi buddy, very nice, thank you, we got company now. As we are diving into the race day, there are so many options out there for what you can use on your race. And you might go through a race and not even need it. Depending on the distance that you're doing, you might find that you don't need anything extra to get through your race. But I would encourage you to take, if you don't pull anything else from this video, I want you to hear this, because this is going to apply to any kind of training that you're doing, whether it is run, bike, swim, endurance training of any kind. This is something that is important for us to understand. So your glycogen, or your energy stores that are ready for us to use at a moment's notice, run out around 45 minutes. So if you've ever been out for a run or a bike or a swim, and all of a sudden you feel like you are getting like lightheaded, dizzy, though you're floating on air all of a sudden, this is your body's way of saying, hey, we're out of that ready to use energy, and this is where those carbohydrates come into play. We're out of that ready to use energy, and I've got to dip into some other energy that's not quite as ready. So it's going to take me a little bit longer to work through that and put that out for you. So either get me something or you're going to deal with this. And if you've ever had that feeling, you actually probably want to stay in front of that feeling, because even when you get that, if you put food in your body right then and there, you put some carbs in your body right then and there, it still takes about 5-10 minutes for your body to get lifted back up and feel like it's normal again. So about 45 minutes, which means you probably want to think about, if you're going to be out there working really hard, exerting yourself really hard, you probably want to think about fueling about 40 minutes. Some people it might be 35, but I would say probably on average for you guys taking on your very first triathlon, probably about 40 minutes. It's a really good idea to think about that. So when you're coming out of the swim, depending on how long it's going to take you to get through that swim, you might want to have something there at your bike that you can just go ahead and have. And then depending on the bike, how long the bike is, you may or may not need something on your bike. Depending on the run, you may or may not need something on your run. So with that being said, I want to run through a couple options. I don't have all the options of all the things that are out there, because there are quite a few things out there that you can pick from. But I'm going to run through what I have on hand and talk about, I think there's one more that I personally use that I don't have on hand right now that I find phenomenal. So, I have, I told you all, I love applesauce. So this is one of the 4 things that we're going to talk about. I love applesauce, squeeze applesauce. I talked about how this is something really good to munch on pre-race. The last race I just did, I had my applesauce walking to the swim start before getting in for warm up. I knew it was going to be about another 15 minutes before the swim started. This was a great addition to my morning routine. And then that 40 minutes that I was talking about, if you're coming out of the water, if you think it's going to take you about 40 minutes to get out of the water, this is another great option to have at your bike as you're taking all your swim stuff off, putting it down, putting your shoes on, because you can just unscrew it, kind of suck on it, because it's just the squeeze applesauce, suck on it as you're still putting your shoes and socks on from your bike. Fantastic option. All right, so next up, we've got goos, and these are probably something you've heard of a little bit more. And this is the actual goo brand, but there's so many brands out there. I just feel like there are more and more brands popping up every time we turn around, which is good. The more options we have, the better we have, because not everything sits well for everyone. I have very few flavors that I can personally have, and the Goo brand is the gel that I have found thus far that has sat the best. So we've got 2 options. We've got one that is just your regular Goo, and then one that you'll see that says Roctane, and it has some extra caffeine in it. So if you're somebody who thinks you want a little extra burst, this is your go-to guy. I do want to say anything else beyond the applesauce that I'm going to get into. If you are going to use any of these other things, you do want to train with them before putting them in your system race day, because you simply don't know how your body's going to respond. And that's where it comes into play. Like going to your local, we go to like an REI here, but also your local running stores. I'm not really sure where else might carry them. That would be a really good stop, but like your local running stores pretty much always have these where you can buy different brands and like a single one, instead of having to buy a whole pack of them. And that's awesome, especially to be able to buy different brands to experiment, to see what can you handle the taste of, what do you not like the taste of, those type of things. So like I said, these we got no energy. These are great. The goos, gels is the other way you'll hear them referred to. Great options, because you don't actually have to actively chew on them. Something else you might see when you're poking around and looking are these things called blocks. So it's really hard to see, and I'm sorry guys, I don't want to open them up. I'm not going to use them anytime soon. And it's not that they're at one shot, they're not crazy expensive. Like these guys are somewhere around like $1.50 to $2.50. I think the non-caffeine ones are like $1.50. The caffeine ones are like $2.50. And then these guys sit around, I think maybe $2.50 or $3. So not that they're inexpensive. on their own, but they do add up. So I don't necessarily want to open this up right now, but they are these little square blocks that are chewy. So these are a really great option for, I would say, if you're not trying to run really hard, because it is hard to chew and hard to run at the same time, and even harder if they have the potential to get like stuck to the roof of your mouth, which these guys kind of do. So this brand is Cliff. Goo has a brand. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure what other brands have them, but these come in all sorts of different flavors as well. This one specifically is strawberry. So, and then you'll also see that some of these are gonna say strawberry and some of them are gonna say with salt or with sodium. And that is important. All your gels are gonna have sodium in them. And that is important because sodium actually helps prevent cramping, but you want to make sure that you're going to train with it because of how sodium and water work together. Just take my word for it for now. I'm going to do another episode talking about sodium because sodium is fantastic. But for now, I'm already over my 15 minutes. We're trying to keep things short. I'm not going to talk about it. Just be aware that some of these say sodium and so, like with added sodium, and some of them don't. And if you are not training with it, you don't want to add a ton of extra sodium to your system the day of the race. So make sure that you're gonna give these a try. Then the other thing that I don't have on me that I really like as well are these things called waffles. So they come in like a square packet. Imagine this with me, square packet. And they are round inside the packet. And they're the brands that carry them that I know off the top of my head are Honey Stingers, and Goo has some waffles as well. And these waffles taste delicious. If I'm giving an option on what to go with, I'm going with applesauce and waffles, which is why I don't have any waffles on hand because I'm out. So those are my favorite. But again, the waffles you have to chew, and they can be a little harder to chew while you're gonna run or while you're biking. So that's a really good option to have like in transition, maybe as you're moving a little slower, but something that you again would want to train with before you try it new on race day. All right, so with all of that, I just want to recap that for just a second because I know I just went through a lot. Anything that you're going to use on your race, during your race, you want to try it, you want to train with it before getting to race day. And sit in about every 40 minutes or so, because reminder, those glycogen stores run out about 45 minutes if you're really exerting yourself. If you're going out and you're like the run walk, you're just going to finish it easy, or with a nice gentle walk, or the bike, you're just out leisurely, just riding along. The swim, you're just like hanging out, like getting yourself through it. If you're not like pushing yourself hard, this time is going to be like pushed down the road further. But if you are out there working hard, you're looking at about 45 minutes for those glycogen stores to run out or energy stores to run out. And so you're going to want to put something in your body that has carbs in it so that you can get that quick energy again. Because carbs are the energy that we can use a little bit quicker. So going from there, when you are looking at your race, something that you want to take a look at is what is the aid station situation. So a lot of times your local triathlons that are shorter distances, so your sprint, your mini sprint, Olympic distance on the bike are not going to have any aid stations. So you want to take a look at this to understand, are there going to be aid stations or are there not going to be aid stations? Because if there are not any aid stations, you want to make sure that you have a water bottle with you. Even if there are aid stations, you probably still want to make sure that you have a water bottle with you. It's always good to start every race with one water bottle on your bike and ready to go. And then going into the run, just about every single race, I don't know if I've ever seen a race that says no water on the run. So you're probably going to have something available on your run. And most common is going to be water and Gatorade that you see. So I would recommend, if you are going to go with the options offered on the course, just like the fueling for like all this stuff that we talked about, that type of fueling, train with it. I would work in, if you plan to use some Gatorade, If you're gonna use Gatorade, right out of the gate, like on your run, that very first aid station, I would train with it. If you're like, no, I think I can get through the run and not use Gatorade till later in my run, all right, that's fine. And you might get out there and Gatorade might sound great. You haven't really been training for it and you go for it. And you might not have any problems with it at all. Or it's something to where you could be training with Gatorade and then all of a sudden that day, for whatever reason, it doesn't sit well. Like there are just some funny things that can happen on race day, but you want to try to prevent them as much as possible. So when you are looking at, depending on what distance you're doing over the course of your triathlon, when it comes to that running portion, take something to drink at every single aid station you see. Especially as we're getting into the summer months and it's getting hot out there. Even if you don't feel hot right now, and in that moment when you're running by that aid station, take something to drink at the aid station so that you are putting liquid back into your body, depending on how long it's been. Maybe you're out there for 2.5, 3 hours, plus a little bit, give or take. You know, that's a lot of times to be sweating and putting out liquid, to not be putting, to say, I'm going to skip this one. So you'll want to make sure every aid station on your run that you do go ahead and take something to drink. And you don't even have to drink the entire cup, but just take something to drink, take a couple swigs, throw the cup. All right. So like I said, I had to reel myself in because this just starts scratching the surface, but I hope for you taking on your very first triathlon, this helps give you a little bit more of an understanding of how to go into your race day, how to attack that, what to eat race morning, and what to consume for your race. Pretty much, we can sum this all up by saying nothing new on race day. We talked about the day going into it. Nothing new. However you normally eat, that's how you're going to want to eat the day before. The morning of, however you normally eat, that's how you're going to want to eat. Whatever you're going to use on your run, that's what, or not on your run, throughout your race, whatever you're going to use in your race, you're going to want to train with it. So just nothing new on race day. And if you're watching this and you're saying, oh no, I didn't even think about needing something to eat throughout the race, we're going to go with Old Faithful applesauce. Go to your local grocery store. You can find this usually in a lot of different flavors. Pick a flavor that you like and go with some applesauce. Unless you're somebody who, for whatever reason, like hates the texture of applesauce, then I can understand how that would not be a great idea. But otherwise, go with some applesauce, get yourself set up with that, pack a couple for race day, and off you go. All right. It was so good to share this information with you all today. I am so excited to be here and to continue bringing you this information. And let's get out there. Let's keep just having some fun this summer. We're officially into June. Let's keep having some fun. If you got any awkward tan lines like I do right now, we got a real good one going on right here. Wear that tan line with pride because you are working so hard. Keep getting out there and let's keep trying for more.